I mean, we all said they needed to gut it. I just didn't think they were gonna delete it.
You're having issues.
Well, you heard it from him first. This patch is absolutely curb stomping everything we know and love about Path of Exile 2. But in this video, I'm going to show you the top 8 changes coming to Path of Exile Dawn of the Hunt patch 0.2.0. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. Number 1, and it's the most obvious one, but we have to cover it. They're adding a brand new class, the Huntress, as well as a couple other Ascendencie classes, one for the Warrior, one for the Mercenary, and one for the Witch, which is what I'm most excited about, and that is the Lich Ascendency. There are so many new ways that are going to be able to play this game, and I am super excited to dive in and play every single one of these new classes and Ascendencies. Just a quick overview of the Huntress and the 2 Ascendencies that come with that, the Amazon and the Ritualist. First off, the Amazon, I do think this is going to be the stronger of the 2 personally, for those reasons being because of Critical Strike, in for the kill, as well as Elemental Infusion. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work right away, but I do feel like it's going to be very powerful down the road. Not to mention, Life Leech could be an extremely good thing with all of the nerfs that are to come. Next up, the Ritualist, which is, I think, going to be a less played counterpart compared to the Amazon. However, I do think there's going to be a lot of variability and viability for the Ritualist in solo self-found and hardcore solo self-found for 3 reasons. 1, I do think as Whispers demand, it's a little odd, and I do think the time it takes to perform the sacrifice needs to be taken away or reduced. But this could be extremely good in terms of early clearing, or if you don't have the correct items or good enough items or gear, it can help a lot. I also obviously think the elephant in the room, Unfurled Finger, adding 1 ring slot on top of increasing the bonuses of 25% from equipped rings and amulets could be absolutely insane. If you roll some really good rings early on your SSF or hardcore SSF characters, could cause a lot of high scaling early on, and I think that could be really good. I'm definitely going to try it out myself. Number 2, an insane amount of endgame changes, which we will not be diving into all of them in this one. The biggest things I want to point out here are that they're adding areas of corruption on the Atlas, and basically you have to go in, cleanse the corruption, kill powerful monsters, and you'll receive crystalline shards that you can utilize to obtain Atlas passive points. On top of that, they're going to be changing a lot of the instances, and within the instances, and for example, the rushing boss maps, you can't just purposely die anymore to farm multiple copies of the same rewards by dying on purpose. Another quick thing that I'd like to throw in there is they're adding recombination, which sounds pretty dang cool. Basically, on Expedition, it allows you to select mods on 2 items, hoping to get the best elements of each on a single item. As you select more mods, the chance of success decreases. If you are not successful, the items will be destroyed. This will be unlocked as you complete your first expedition and requires artifacts found during the expedition to fuel it. Super awesome. I love that update. I do think expeditions were a little bit, I'd say, under-rewarded compared to the alternative maps that you can run. And if you haven't seen it below, if you don't know what an expedition is, you can check out my other video. I'll link it in the description. It's an expedition guide basically going through this because it can be pretty confusing for new players. But it did need a buff, and I do think this recombination skill that they're adding to the end game could be pretty massive, so I'm excited about it. Another thing I'd like to quickly add is that they're adding Asmarian Wisps into the content. And basically, I'm not going to dive into it too quick, but basically they're spirits that can be found throughout the campaign and the end game. And as you approach these wisps, they're going to flee, leading you past monsters, and they're going to empower these monsters. You have to kill them, but if the wisp gets too far away, it'll dissipate back into the forest. Now, it will infuse a spirit that you then have to kill, and it can drop really good loot. And that's how the Asmarian Wisps are going to be added to the game and how they're going to work. Number 3, and the one that you guys have probably been waiting for, and the one that, people are going to be pissed about, is skill changes. And we're going to be diving really quickly into it, and I'm going to point out probably just one or two or maybe three of the most important ones, but just know everything's getting nerfed. The game is getting dramatically slowed down, and they're basically curb stomping everything that we know into the ground, like Ozzy said. Number 4, they are adding an enormous amount, over 100 unique items into the game. So there are going to be ways to get around a lot of the nerfs, so hang in tight. But the biggest change to uniques that I'm seeing is Ingenuity Belt. It is getting absolutely smashed, which actually brings up a valid point that the Ritualist can kind of revive this. So for you standard build players who love the Ingenuity Belt, kind of just rush to get that. It's still viable, but I do think going Ritualist will make the most sense for this here. Number 5, and it's a big one for us solo self-found players, Jeweler Orbs now set a skill gem to have the specified number of support gem sockets, rather than adding support gem sockets to a skill gem with a specific number of support gem sockets already. For example, you can now use a perfect Jeweler's Orb on a skill gem with 2 support gem sockets to set it to have 5. That's massive. So as we know, getting the greater and perfect Jeweler Orbs, and if you haven't been playing the game or don't know anything about the game, they're basically allow your skills to be better. This is a massive upgrade for self-found players because the greater and perfect Jeweler Orbs are actually a little bit more rare and they're harder to find. The perfect takes forever to find, but sometimes you find a perfect but still haven't found a greater yet. And you can't use that perfect until you find a greater to put a 4th and 5th link in. So this is massive because now I can just find a perfect, put it into a two slot skill gem, and boom, I have 5. Massive, massive update. I actually think is really, really good. Number 6 is going to be not just one thing, but many things, and that's monster changes. I highly recommend that you look through these because there are monsters and bosses that are getting buffed and maybe slightly nerfed. For example, Count Genor, Act 1 boss, 180-degree swipe attack no longer can be blocked. That is just a small example of many ways that we were avoiding death before can now cause you to die. And the biggest thing in my opinion is the stuns. It is going to be so much easier for us to be stunned now. So that is something to pay attention to. Highly recommend you look through all of these because it could save your life if you're on a hardcore. Number 7, and this one is an absolute banger. I'm really excited to see what this looks like and how it scales, is runes. Runes now have 3 tiers. For example, Storm Room has been split into a lesser Storm Room, a Storm Room, and a greater Storm Room. You're able to reforge 3 lessers for 1 regular of the type and reforge 3 regular runes for a greater. I think that's super needed. The runes, you know, obviously they have really good usage early on, but don't really scale into the late game as well. And so it's gonna be really nice to just have some scaling runes to add in. And again, just a little bit more crafting to add in to break up a lot of the hack and slash killing shit. And number 8 on here, and again, this is just me saying this because it's something that I've pretty much used exclusively in the first league or whatever you want to call it. And that is the Pillar of the Cage God is getting GIGA nerfed. It is now reducing from 2% down to 1% attack speed per 10 dex, from 2% down to 1% increased area of effect per 10 intelligence, and we are now only providing 10% of increased damage per 10 strength rather than 5 strength. This is an absolute heartbreaker when it comes to the builds that I like to do. You know, I have been talking so much about the strength stacking gemling, and I knew this was coming. You know, we all did it. You know, the Pillar of the Cage Gods is an absolute unit of an item, and you're gonna have to figure something else out because it's dead to me. It's probably still okay, but it's dead to me. And that's gonna wrap it up for this video. That is 8 major changes coming to patch 0.2.0, Dawn of the Hunt for Path of Exile 2. Now, I know these are not the biggest changes or the biggest changes in your mind, but these are just the 8 major changes that I feel were important to touch on. Now, again, feel free, I'm gonna link it down below, look at all the patch notes yourself, and let me know in the comments what you think is the biggest changes coming. I know there's a lot more nerfs, like Spark, shot into the ground, it's dead, goodbye, new skill incoming. You know, Oaksworn Shield, the unique item that all of us minion lovers love, that's dead. No more spirit. It gives max life now. What? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. You can catch me this Friday at 2 p.m. Central streaming. I'm going to be doing a big stream. We're going to be looking at hardcore SSF. I might go in blind. I might not even do an SSF or a standard character. I might just dive right into it. Who knows? We'll see. But tune in this Friday, 2 p.m. Hope to see you there. Like and subscribe if you haven't, because it does help the channel a lot. And we'll see you in the next one.